Yeah. I have a couple of questions for you that we have put together. We want to talk to you. The first part is talking to you about, being a business director for Aspire Solutions. First and foremost, you've been recognized as a Standard Bank top woman in tech, right? Like that's just amazing. So, what does this achievement mean to you personally and professionally?
So look, from a personal and professional, as the business director of Aspire, I always say is intertwined because the values of that I have as a person has to come through within the business as well. So being the business director and part owner of Aspire, it is vital that I embody my values. So any form of recognition for myself is that for the company as well, which obviously provides you with almost confirmation of your capability. It
Yeah.
aids your personal growth as an entrepreneur, and more
Hmm.
so, it gives you more to, without putting it out there purposefully, aspire to and to inspire others to aim to achieve. Because my story is not the generic one, without tertiary
Hmm.
education, and we'll probably get into that a bit as well.
Yeah.
But to me, that accolade is definitely capability for both myself
Hmm.
and representing Aspire. So it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Today for me the tech industry is quite interesting. I saw Google just announced today that they've got a new fund coming out
Mm,
for people that are startups that are that want to get into that. And
mm,
they're talking about giving people 1 million after you go through their course. And
mm.
I remember back in the day there was a chat that tech is male dominated.
Yes.
Would you first and foremost, like, why tech, and would you still say that it is still a male dominated space?
100%. So tech definitely, because it comes with, we cannot be in the year 2025 and ignore what we've gone through within South Africa. The changes of, where I'm at, which is the in-between, between apartheid and freedom, between no social media and the digital age, that cannot be
Yes.
ignored. So the
Yeah.
struggle and what I pushed through initially at the start of my career in tech, which wasn't the very first point, but it was the
Hmm.
space that I was intrigued by. It was the space that had the most changed. It is still
Okay.
a male-dominated industry. When I go into a meeting, 99% of the time, I am either the only female there or there's another female there within administration. And I say that
Hmm.
purposely because you do get women in tech, but do you get women in senior positions in technology? That is the question. And that's where I feel the gap sits within society. Therefore, yes, I can answer still predominantly a male dominated industry. As per any form or industry, there's still the element of competitiveness. So I do have the males that support me as well. And then I do have the competition with other females as well. So,
Yeah.
it's much of a muchness,
Yeah.
but definitely still predominantly male.
Yeah. For me, I find this particular topic quite interesting because Um, because then the check becomes, why is it like this? Is it because it's assumed that maybe boys are the ones that are encouraged, particularly with tech, to play around
Mm,
with computers, softwares? Like, why is it like that? Because when we look at, particularly higher education, women are the ones that are excelling, right?
mm,
So one would think because tech is such and well, I mean, it's for intelligent people. You have to be very smart,
yeah.
and we know that women are the ones that most of the times, when it comes to academia, they excel,
Mm.
particularly here in South Africa. So why is it like that?
So my assumption, obviously observing behavior in tech, right? And within the
Mm,
academia space, because last year I completed my postgrad at UCT GSB, which was a
mm,
shock for me because, seeing people in business, being
mm,
a business school, still predominantly male dominated, but the people at the
mm,
forefront are the women. And your answer is
mm,
exactly it is the voice. So communication, planning, it comes down to the natural skills for organizational versus
Mm-hmm.
background and support. And if you look at the embodiment of technology, you'll find that the technical sphere is owned by the male space
Yeah.
because it unfair to say one dimensional, but it is linear with a start and end. Then there's the
Mm.
mindset of what women are said to be. I mean, there's these diagrams all over social media where man is A to B, woman is A, B, C,
Mm.
D, E, F, G, you know, the whole
Yeah.
chaotic element of it. So the extension of what supports a man. And that has been my observation. And even as a woman, at times, and this is not a laughing matter, but you're probably going to chuckle. Men will always say that we need to listen. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Because we'll go ahead and we'll cut you before, but you
Yeah.
also why. So it is that seesaw or that scale within
Yeah.
society that if we perfect that balance, you know, human
Yeah.
nature, the listening, the hearing, the empathetic side, we'll find a good match. But that to me would be based on observation, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. I know. Thank you so much for that answer. While we're still on the your leadership and journey, part one of the interview, what has been like the defining moment for you so far
Defining
with
moment
Aspire
coming
Solution?
into oh, with Aspire.
Yes.
So I'm going to say I'm extremely passionate about the communities and
Mm.
upliftment.
Yeah.
I run by heart, and I feel that, you know, with tech on the forefront, I constantly need to find that balance on what is the difference that I'm making. Yes, myself and business partner work towards building a sustainable business, having those
Mm-hmm.
relationships with clients. Then it is we've achieved that, what next? But we cannot disregard the upliftment element. So, a
Yeah.
proud moment for me is the fact that 6 years ago, we started a self funded academy, and it was on
Okay.
the basis of the lack of skills of software developers. And as you mentioned, that is generally for the academic, you know, someone who's got pure math, physics within the 80% knows their, it's not my space, not without
Mm.
intellect, but that is not my space, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
extended 6 years later to an academy that does have training from grade 11 for software developers, if that is what you want, but also for you to understand what technology is about, the
Okay.
roles that exist, the fact that it is made up of so many components. You shouldn't
Yeah.
box yourself and say, I'm either a project manager or I'm a software developer. There's the elements of
Mm.
data analytics, there's the gaming components, there's the apps that exist. And there is how in tune technology stays with humanity and your lifestyle.
Uh,
Look at how you log in now on to verify yourself. You can either put
mhm.
in a password on an app on your phone, or you can use Facebook or your Gmail.
Yeah.
Right? How
Yeah.
does that happen? So, what I'm proud of is bridging the gap to broaden the educational mind of not just what software development is about, as IT is seen as a physical thing or something that is hard, but the fact that
Mhm.
all elements of existence require it.
Oh, oh, okay. I see. That's amazing. You say from grade 11 upwards.
Yes, so the learnerships we put out from grade 11, we found that if you go and do a poll at high school and you
Mm-hmm.
go to a grade 12 student and you say, what is it that you want to do? They'll give you one, two, three options. And you'll ask them, have you thought about that? And then they'll say, no, I just have to do it because I'm in matric 9. I need to apply for something. Where's
Mm.
that pause? So we've decided we'll rather get the attention of a grade 11 learner, that we are
Okay.
supporting and molding for the subjects that they need, that gives them
Okay.
greater direction. They are not
Mhm.
bound by anything because you get students that from grade 10, grade 9, 10, young boys are saying, no, I need to go into software development. Why? I love the gaming side of it. I want to go into animation. We're like, okay, This is what you need to study, but come to our academy so we can broaden your mind on what exists, what a day to day would look like for you,
Yeah.
whatever. We've had students that have only come on 2 occasions and said, thank you very much. You know what? It's actually not what I expected.
Mm.
And we've
Yeah.
had the reverse of others coming and saying, no, are you crazy? I can't do tech. I didn't do pure math. And I'm like, just come and see. And I've got a
Mm.
student like that was completely misdirected from last year. She's actually matriculated, was
Yeah.
completely uncertain. And I promise you, she's one of the most attentive students in the class at the moment. Because now
Well,
she's curious. Now it's giving her
yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. That's amazing. That's amazing. I wish I had that in high school. In high school,
Yeah, me too. I mean, then I wouldn't have done the 9 other things before getting into tech.
yeah. Oh man, that's amazing. And then, tell us about other work that you do. The Women in ICT seminar. What is that about?
So the Women in ICT seminar started very long ago. That was in 2019, right? That was prior to
Mm.
the award. It was established by the lack of women in senior management. And Kim
Mm.
Palmer, who runs On the Ball, started this
Mm.
amazing initiative with Women in ICT, where UCT
Mm.
sponsors young women from various schools to come and attend for a day, ask questions. And I've always been, because I'm into youth development, Kim and I crossed paths, and I'd be a panelist on the
Yeah.
for the actual event. That gave
Okay.
us the opportunity to interact, to
Okay.
understand what the young minds see tech as. We'd get
Yeah.
this vast array of students that will come up to you and say, are you going to fund an internet cafe? And I'll ask the question and say, do you really think there's an internet cafe needed now, that you can FaceTime, that you
Mm.
can whatever? No, 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 but I still want that, that cafe where people can come and log on. And I'm like, okay, so what is it that you're going to do for
Mm.
me or for society that's going to make me want to open your internet cafe?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
get to understand the inquiring mind. That it also fostered the relationship with Kim Palmer, where she
Mm-hmm.
supported our first student that actually graduated, that started with us in grade 11, did
Mm-hmm.
her course funded by Aspire. So he matriculated with NQF level 4. He's
Mm-hmm.
completed his NQF level 5 and is now a junior project developer at our company. So
Wow.
he's had a full cycle with us in support of it, because we're a tech house. We don't have the CETA qualifications to be able to provide them with that.
Yeah.
So the Women in ICT was the birth of the partnership between Aspire Solutions and On the Ball, and meeting of minds where we check in once a quarter. We check on, promise and people that possibly need to be funded to come via the academy and get the support. So it was definitely the birth of the partnership between Aspire Solutions and On the Ball. And it's still a very active relationship.
Okay. So, a lot of I was reading now this like just going back to tech, the tech space in general, that Africa, I think for the past 2 years or so, the funding from the global funders has kind of like dropped. So what does this
Mm.
mean for you, and why is it happening like that in the tech
So
space?
what it means for me is the fact that we have to identify that we
Mm.
have our own talent, firstly. We
Mm.
have become so reliant holistically out of the IT space, but from
Mm.
a economical space, we are
Mm.
reliant of so much outside of South Africa and
Mm.
Africa generally. If we look at it within the mineral space, we are one of the richest continents with varied minerals, but do we own
Mm.
it and do we control it? It's the same with talent. So, my response to that is building resilience, not
Mm.
looking at the element of saying, hold on, funding is being pulled. Let us see this as a failure. Try and identify the setback and work on that funding. No, it is eradicate the competition within Africa and South Africa. Form
Mm.
collaborative panels, pay it forward, like the example that Kim and I tried to forge with a relationship and a partnership that is mutually beneficial so that
Yeah.
we can encourage our own talent. Every
Mm,
single time you give a pound of flesh, call it funding from something else, it is never for free. So
mm.
if we harnessing it and we're harnessing it for our economy and our talent, is that not a grow your own model that South Africa is supposed to be standing for?
Yeah, sometimes I just feel like also we don't have proper structures. We
I
are 10
know,
years
I
behind.
know. It
Yeah.
feels that way, and I mean, I have these conversations often. We need to get out of the mindset, and I think it was possibly something that stayed with COVID, where as soon as something happens that is almost negative, it hits us to the core. Like what can
Yeah.
happen? How is this gonna? I'm learning to take that breath. And it is my
Mm,
encouragement for others to say, you know what? Pause. Don't read the news and take it verbatim. Take that
mm,
breath and don't take it and hold it. Ask yourself, what can I do? And then you're like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do in another country? How am I just going to go donate money? How do I know it goes to the right institution? That's not what I
mm,
mean. Check on your
mm,
neighbor. Check on your
mm,
niece that's at school,
mm,
and just check in on what she's doing, how things are going, and try and foster
mm.
positivity.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, thanks for that. And you're quite right. I think we often I always say we need to get rid of the mentality of a begging bowl and come up with solutions, right? And
We have smart people, Andile. Like South
yeah,
Africa has really smart people, and smart isn't just within academia. We've got people with guts. We've come out of a lot. We are this new
mm,
generation where we saw our parents struggle and our parents' struggle, and we want to change
mm,
that narrative. So why aren't we
yeah.
stepping up and actually doing something about it?
Yeah, yeah. And my next question, I think you've touched just a bit on it. You've obviously worked, you've worked on projects spanning Africa and obviously, Europe and other regions. You've kind of like seen how other people work and just learning from that. What are some of the things that you think we can kind of like, take or be inspired by?
So I'm going to say it is where we do things really well. We
Mm,
have a nature to hear better where requirements are concerned. And South Africans
hmm.
are hard workers. That's the one thing I've seen. So
Yeah.
my stint within the global space was Eastern Europe, Africa, and Middle East. I
Hmm.
was employed within the corporate space.
Hmm.
And I think the lessons from that was looking at challenges that we could face. We are so focused on the opportunities and saying, you know what, inside the South African context, there's young, hungry talents and a chance to shape the digital infrastructure locally. The other
Mm,
end of that challenge is regulation, cybersecurity threats, inequality, and a space where purpose driven business matters. So, when the international markets come out with a strategy on where they're starting and where that end must be, they've got it clearly mapped out. In
yeah.
South Africa, we take a very reactive approach than proactive. We
Hmm.
know our transport system has this and this issue. We know that taxis, this, just as a form of reference, we know that things are oversaturated in some areas. We know that some areas don't have infrastructure or access to education. We
Yeah.
know those things, but we focused in the neighboring spaces where it is there. It takes another 5 years for the neighbor right next door to get it. So it is, we need to step out of the difference to me from a global scale.
Yeah.
Once it starts, it's with a proactive nature. South
Yeah.
Africa needs to get on that bandwagon and not be as reactive by saying, this is coming, let's latch onto it.
Yeah.
So again, I'm
Yeah.
guiding the South African people and being patriotic and saying, come on, guys, we've got the talent. Let's be proactive and let's do something for ourselves.
You just touched on something very important about being proactive. and I'm looking at, these AI developments every other day, and I'm just like, yo, are we even ready to compete? What
Are
does
we
that
even?
what does this mean for us? Like with AI, like, I feel like the tools are there, but
Mm.
how do we then leverage as normal South Africans to improve our lives? Do you think that South Africans are gonna get there? Are we there, or are we just gonna react when the rest of the world has moved on? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna. My thoughts is it's one word
Mm-hmm,
again, opportunity. And I'm gonna
mm-hmm,
sketch this scenario for you.
mm-hmm,
My mother, your
mm-hmm,
mother or your grandmother, totally scared of the mobile phone, which was probably the devil's work. My
mm-hmm,
mother updates her WhatsApp status about 10 to 15 times a day. I don't think she's scared of it at all anymore. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? The
yeah,
transition of mindset, what we had versus where we're going. And why do I say opportunity? So there is a very big warning, and this is something that always has to go. I encourage this within the journalism sphere, especially
mm,
when you are speaking to tech people and AI. AI is on the forefront and it creates opportunity. But before I continue with that, AI comes with the warning that it is not there to take over. It is there to support. You
yeah,
cannot believe item what it is because then you might as well have believed in Robocop when you were 5 years old. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
That's the warning. The opportunity is for people within not just our community, but needing to make a change. There's this big drive within government because teachers are being retrenched. There's so many teachers without placements. And,
yeah,
if they were to utilize AI as an opportunity and say, listen, um, this is my qualification. And this
mm-hmm,
is into, say, ChatGPT. Hi, ChatGPT, kindly assist me in doing a flyer that can go online on a website and social media with a business plan with short term and long term goals for a period of 2 years. How can I position myself? They're going to
yeah,
get all that information. If there's an
mm,
auntie that sells donuts down the road and she's like, I haven't and I can't operate within the social media space. And she goes and says, this is my donut. This is what makes it unique. Put out a flyer for me that can go on social media. I'm 65 years old. Make the hashtags relevant. It's going to
mm,
go out. It's going to populate it for her. So we
yeah,
need to understand what we are working with, not a takeover,
yeah,
opportunity of evolution, because it cannot, otherwise we're operating without heart and brain, right?
yeah,
And the one thing that AI will never have is heart.
mm, yeah.
So use that opportunity that exists and don't fear it.
Okay, okay, awesome. You touched on this earlier on, about mentorship. But I just want to talk to you about mentorship and youth empowerment, right? Um, so you okay, before we get to that, I just wanted to talk to you about you being obviously a businesswoman and obviously
Mm.
being in corporate before, right? And there's this always this debate like it's better to go into business first, or is it better to get a job first and learn? How do you balance the two? Which one is better? Because some people are saying if you go to corporate, you're gonna waste time. You better start the business now. Some people say, well, maybe go to corporate first, learn, and then start a business. So having done a bit of both, what is your opinion on that?
So I'm going to be very biased, but I'm smiling because I had a meeting before this where
Mm,
there is an opportunity of a new client and who's a lot bigger than what we are. It's also it's more of a partnership.
mm-hmm,
And the discussion that we had, and this is going to be a chicken and egg situation.
mm-hmm,
Within my space, the fact that I have had corporate experience and exposure to red tape and how things operate from a strategic requirement, which is a very much top
mm,
down approach, is to my advantage because this allowed me to identify all the gaps at the bottom. And that
Yeah.
is where the opportunities sit for entrepreneurs, how it's impacting the man that is sitting between desk and chair versus
Mm,
the decision makers who always end up in a situation where they're taking a square peg into a round hole.
mm,
So, my first response to that is any exposure that provides discipline is a learning for you. It gives you an understanding. Now you go into business first and you tell yourself, this is my product, this is what I'm doing. It has to work with what experience? So go
mm,
out there and gain the experience. And in my space, Andile, I didn't just gain the experience in tech. I gained it
mm,
to understand industry because tech sits at the
mm.
center of it, which is why I was drawn to it. But I
Yeah.
needed to understand the people and the industry, which leads me to the answer. Yes, go and gain that experience first so that you know what you're
Mm,
working with. You understand customer bases. And guess what's the best part? You're
yeah.
not at risk because you're earning a salary. So you are learning, you're earning a salary, then you can build up the courage to move on.
And some sort of capital.
Exactly. Because you know what you're working towards, you know?
Yeah. Wow, yeah, time flies. It's like 30 minutes already. Okay. So I want to know, like, you're a fashionista as well, you know? Uh, you've got a label. So tell me about your label and, is it anywhere connected to the business work that you do, the corporate stuff, the tech stuff?
Andila, you know, everything is connected. So let me tell you, you started off this conversation and you said generally when people are in tech, it's the smart ones and it's academia. And, you know, we
Mm,
started the academy 6 years ago because we were looking for software developers and it had to be the certain caliber of maths and science, pure maths, and, you know, the pressure within the academic space. I'm a
mm,
left-handed person who has a creative mind. And I'm telling myself, I came into technology to not box myself. So, what
mm,
am I creating? And am I being a hypocrite to not try and understand the broader elements of industry? The one industry I never touched on was fashion, as much as I love it, because, you know, that becomes second nature to some women.
mm,
Me, of course, definitely. But I needed to understand it. So, my reasoning for doing the Mush label part was firstly to do a label in South Africa, meaning born, bred, manufactured end to end in South Africa. Why?
mm,
Opportunities. Right. So I had access to two or three people who didn't have the business understanding but could assist me. I knew I had the design flair, but it was totally new to me. And I needed to understand what happens in the CMT environment, the sourcing environment, what things cost.
mm,
The reason for that was to build an incubator. So Mush label that is currently on a sabbatical because I need to, you know, Aspire is my child.
yeah.
Mush label was built on the intention of building sustainable fashion and
Mm,
accessible fashion, creating an opportunity for South Africans with a creative flair to submit designs,
yeah.
where then from an Aspire perspective, we kind of fund one or two designs and try and put things out there on social media and get more of a hype to be true to me. And being true to
Mm,
me was showing the balance that just because you are not an academic does not mean a creative stands out. In
mm.
order for me to build that opportunity for creatives, I needed to understand it. And that's why Mush Label was born.
Okay, that's amazing. I didn't know the left being a left what is it called? A
The
left-handed and
right
a
brain.
right-handed.
Yeah.
That is really a thing. If you're a creative mind, then you are right-handed.
Basically, you are more logical.
Mm.
And you know, my other passion is actually neurology and neuroscience. So understanding certain decisions and behaviors of
Yeah.
people. And I wasn't even aware that I needed to explore my creative flair because I thought I was doing it within the system part. But
Mm-hmm.
the pleasure I got by touching and feeling fabrics and seeing something come together was generally like an artist. And
Mm,
I feel it was because when you take on this analytical, logical approach of business outcomes, you forget and you kind of don't balance that scale. And then I asked the question to someone more professional within the psychological sphere, and they said, listen, from a left-handed person, yes, has aptitude, but what's your
mm.
outlet? And I wasn't aware. Now I know that the creative side is the outlet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we're out of time now. Is there anything that I
Yes.
missed that you just want to say to people out there in closing?
So I think in closing and looking forward, with having built a sustainable business and hopefully moving there over the next 20 years, we need to
Mhm.
already ensure readiness and expanding into AI, the emerging tech that's around us, and for Aspire, it's growing middle management. But my lesson to everyone out there is continue to use tech as a platform for impact, especially for women and for the youth, and for men as well to understand women and the youth. But for
Mm.
us not to look the gift horse in our mouth and know that we, as South Africans and in Africa, sit with talent. Don't fear what tech is putting on the table. Embrace it and see it as opportunity.
Oh, okay. No, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be in touch and enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Thank you, Andile. You too. Hey, thanks for your time.
Okay. Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.